Hey guys, as you know, my channel's been getting flag attacks, and what I've been doing is every time it gets a flag, I do a video on the Bible. That's my way of countering it, and it just got a flag, so I'm going to do a video on the Bible. And I'm going to show you something fascinating, some shocking things that Jesus said. And it has to do with demons talking to Jesus. And listen to this. I'm reading from Mark 5. And they came to the other side of the sea into the country of the Gerasenes. And when he had come out of the boat, speaking of Jesus, notice capital H, he, immediately a man from the tombs with an unclean spirit met him, and he had his dwelling among the tombs. So this man basically is like so demon possessed so severely that he like lives amongst this graveyard, right? So picture this. It says, and no one was able to bind him anymore, even with the chain, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been torn apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. So this is one demon-possessed man. And constantly, night and day, among the tombs and in the mountains, he was crying out and gashing himself with stones. Now listen to this. This part is awesome. And seeing Jesus from a distance, he ran up and bowed down before him. Now listen what comes out of the man's voice. It is not the man that is saying this. It is the demons. Notice how even the very demons are subject to Jesus Christ. Now, up to this time, no one has known, really, it hasn't been said by anybody else but Jesus telling people, his closest disciples, no one has said that he is the Son of the Most High God, but the demons know. And watch how the demons are kind of letting the cat out of the bag here as they say to him, remember it said he ran up, so this demon-possessed guy runs up, bows down before Jesus Christ, and crying out with a loud voice, he said, and listen very closely what the demons say. What do I have to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Notice how they recognize Jesus Christ and his power. But look what else they recognize. They recognize their fate, their future. The demons then say, I implore you by God, do not torment me. Notice that. They know what their future is. See, hell was not made for man. Hell was made for Satan and his demons. Those that choose Satan, they will be cast into hell by choice. Nobody, sends someone to hell. They choose who to follow. So notice the demons are saying, I implore you by God, do not torment me. For he had been saying to him, see, Jesus, here's Jesus' words here in red, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. Now, in that culture, when you ask someone your name, it was a sign of submission. And a lot of times, people in royalty, so to speak, would ask the people, what is your name? And you would have to answer them. So look what Jesus says. And he was asking him, what is your name? And he said to him, now look what this guy says, these demons, my name is Legion, for we are many. And if you look up Legion, in some translations that means like 1,000, like this dude had like 1,000 demons in him. And he began to entreat him, Jesus Christ, earnestly not to send them out of the country. So picture this, it's just wild. They're begging Jesus for mercy. And Jesus does something interesting here. They're begging him not to send them out of the country. Now there was a big herd of swine feeding there on the mountain, and the demons entreated him, saying, send us into the swine so that we may enter them. So it appears here that demons do not like to be out in the open. They want to possess flesh and even animals. So we know here that demons can possess animals. So watch what happens. And he gave them permission. So notice Jesus gives them permission, and it says, and coming out the unclean spirits entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the sea, about 2,000 of them. So the 2,000 pigs, we know at least there was 2,000 demons, right? Because 2,000 pigs get demon-possessed, and they go down the sea and they drown. Now, that part is just phenomenal. But look what happens over here. Once again, Jesus comes upon a man, and he's the father of a child, and the child's demon-possessed. And the disciples could not get this demon out of this child, right? And Jesus asked the father, how long has this been happening to him? And the father says, from childhood, and it is often thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, and watch how awesome this is here, these beautiful words. The man understands that faith is important. And look what he says. He says, but if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us, he says to Jesus. And Jesus said to him, if you can, all things are possible to him who believes. Immediately the boy's father cried out and began saying, and this is brilliant response on the boy's father. He says, I do believe, help my unbelief. Let's go through that again. What a brilliant response. I do believe, help my unbelief. And when Jesus saw that a crowd was rapidly gathering, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, you deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him, and do not enter him again. And after crying out and throwing him into terrible convulsions, it came out. And the boy became so much like a corpse that most of them said he is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand. So picture this beautiful part. It'd be awesome to be there and witness this. He takes this boy by the hand, the little child, and raised him, and he got up. So Jesus is helping him to his feet. And when he had come into the house, watch what Jesus says here. Very interesting. His disciples began questioning him privately because they can't figure out, why couldn't we get this demon out of this kid, you know? They said, why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, this kind cannot come out by anything but prayer. Now, there are demons, you guys. For someone to say there's no demons, I mean, you just have to forget the words of Jesus. It is so obvious that there is demons. But also, do you know Jesus talked of hell more than any other prophet in the Bible? There's also hell. And Jesus speaks of it here, and he says, and whoever causes one of these little ones who believe to stumble, it would be better for him if with the heavy millstone around his neck he had been cast into the sea. And if your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life crippled than having your two hands to go into what? Hell, into the unquenchable fire, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than having your 2 feet be cast into hell, where the worm does not die, and again, and the fire is not quenched. And if your eye causes you to stumble, cast it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell, where the worm does not die, and the fire is not quenched. So it is obvious that Jesus confronted demons regularly. There's one part in the Bible, I'm going to do another video on this later on, where Jesus is being surrounded by so many people, and he's just healing them one after the other, that it almost, like, to an onlooker that didn't know what he was doing, it looked like Jesus was, they even accused Jesus of being insane, because all these people are like, he's laying hands on them, and there's just people, demons coming out of people. I mean, you see what happened to the child here, and you see what happened with all the pigs running into it's, to someone looking on what Jesus was doing, it was almost like madness to them, because here you have God coming down from heaven with all his power, and he's able to bring this power right here to the planet, and as he's healing the demons, it's just an awesome story. Now, I read from Mark 5, and then also I went from Mark 9. So those folks that say, you know, Jesus never talked about hell, I don't know where they're getting that. Jesus is actually the one who has spoken more of hell than any other prophet in the Bible, because he loves us so much. He doesn't want us to go, how he says here, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. God bless you. This is Shock.